Hey guys, it's Adele. The sun's just about to set over the mountains here. I'm not sure how much time I have left before I'm shrouded in darkness. So let's get this video going. Now the first thing I want to say in this video is that most people never change. They actually just don't actually change. Years and years and years can go by, and you're going to find that most people have the same modes of thinking, they have the same groups of friends, they work in the same type of jobs. Honestly, think of someone you knew 10 years ago and think of where they are now. You know, maybe they might have a small difference, maybe they got married or they broke up, or maybe they moved, maybe they didn't, but you'll find that fundamentally people create these realities and they live within them, and they're very small and confined. Now, if you're someone who's watching videos like this, videos on my channel, you are someone who is probably starting to kind of wake up from the human slumber. It's the great mystery of humanity. It's mentioned in the Bible, when man is born, a great sleep falls over him. There's a great quote by Goethe, men are not evildoers, but sleepwalkers. So when we start to wake up out of the sleep of our life, it's kind of traumatic at first. I know I went through that. I was like, reality isn't what I thought it was. My relationships weren't what I thought they were. I wasn't the person I thought I was. And, our brains filter all kinds of information so that we are not overwhelmed and bombarded by our environment. If you were to be hypnotically, regressed back to, I don't know, you're 4 years old and, your birthday party, you would remember every single detail. You'd remember what kind of color of tablecloth was on the table. You would remember, the specific smell when you first walked into the house that day. You would remember, every little detail. But our subconscious mind filters out all these details, yet we're still constantly taking them in. So we're programmed from a very young age, almost hypnotically. Our mind picks up all of the details of our environment. Not even just the things our parents say, but the expression on their faces. Their body language, what that says to us. Because as humans, we pick it up instinctively. That's why you can, see someone walking down the street, or, have someone walk up to you and you instantly get a feeling off of them. People can say that's because you're psychic, and stuff like that, but realistically it's because we notice all these little details quickly, micro expressions, posture. We pick up these things from people, and our body will react to it in kind. So all of these things come together to start creating patterns in your brain. And when you experience something that you already have, an idea about in your mind, because your parents put that in your brain, and that was what you observed in your environment. And as you grew up, you're in an environment that your parents chose for you, so there's all people around you who are going to confer on all those ideas with you. They're going to reinforce whatever it is that you picked up in your environment. You're going to look around, and there's going to be people who are living this way, who are thinking this way, who look this way, who make a certain amount of money, who believe certain things, who are educated to a certain level, and you're going to think that that's who you are. But if you're the kind of person who's watching these videos, you're at a place where you're starting to question everything in your life. You're starting to look around you and wonder what it is you're really doing here. You're starting to think about your relationships, and you're starting to question those as well. You're starting to wonder who you really are, what you're capable of. You're probably also starting to think about your past and your upbringing and your childhood and your relationships and all of your experiences and how they've affected the person that you are today. And you're trying to wonder how you can become something different. And you're starting to feel that out and think, is that okay? Change is a fact of life. As I'm out here in the fall, with all the leaves changing. The leaves are almost all gone out here now. And we see this in nature all the time, but as humans we are kind of resistant to it until it is forced upon us. And then we find ways to adapt. And then we realize that we're able to adapt. And we were all along. As you get more and more brave with your life, more and more amazing things happen for you. I can guarantee you that. I have had a number of experiences that proved to me that this reality, as we experience it, is not what I would call base reality. You know, when you wake up from a dream at night, you feel like you're waking up into the real world. And that the previous world, you know, that was a dream, it's gone with the dew off the grass in the morning. But I've had experiences in my life that show that this level of reality is also another level of a dream that seems a bit more real. And I'm going to be talking about this in further videos. I made a video about my experiences with death. I have died and been revived 3 times in my life. And so I have a perspective on this world and what comes after it that have afforded me a lot of freedom in the way that I think and in the way that I live my life. So there are a couple of things you can start doing when you want to start examining your life and discovering things about yourself. The quest for self-knowledge is never-ending, and the more you learn about yourself, the better person you become, and the more you're able to offer your gifts to the world, to have deeper relationships, and to help others. So the first thing I would do is just to start questioning everything. Just everything. At the end of the day, look back on your day and try to think about how you felt. Look at the way you reacted to certain things. And try to ask yourself, why did I react that way? For example, let's say if you were walking down the street and a homeless person asked you for money and you gave it to them. That's an interaction you can get home and think about. At the end of the day, you might think, oh, well, I did that because, you know, I'm a generous person. And I felt sorry for them. Well, start to ask yourself, why? And then ask why, and why, and why. And you might find that, well, maybe you actually just kind of felt guilty, and maybe you felt obligated, and that's why you did it. There's all kinds of strange reasons why we do the things we do. And we have a lot of defenses in place to keep us from accessing the reality of that, because the truth is quite painful. And this experience of Earth and life as humans have created it, it's not set up for deep thinking and introspection and truth. You have to live in a certain level of blindedness in order to function. Like I said before, you know, our brain filters things out that we deem unnecessary. So that's the second thing you want to start doing. Is your brain will instantly focus on things that have meaning to you. So for example, if you're in a relationship with someone and they're looking at their phone, for someone who's been cheated on before, that's instantly going to have meaning to them that, you know, it might be someone who's cheating, and that's what they're going to focus on. Someone who hasn't had that experience and doesn't have those networks and pathways going, they wouldn't even notice. So there are things that your brain is paying attention to that are creating your experience of reality. So start to become aware of that. Start to become aware of the things that you notice, that you obsess over, that you think about, that you comment on. I have noticed that my life has become impeccably beautiful the more that I notice and comment on beautiful things in nature and in people. And it can be really hard to believe these things at first, because if you're starting in a mindset where you're focused on one level of reality, it's kind of like the difference between steering a car and steering a boat huge tanker on the ocean. In a car, you know, you can just turn the wheel and instantly you can see the difference that's being made. But if you're steering a tanker on the ocean, you know, this giant ship like the Titanic, and you spin the wheel to the right, you can spin and spin and spin that wheel, and you're not going to see anything for miles. And then eventually it's going to start drifting slowly in that direction until it's on that course with the full force of the ocean and the mechanics of that creation behind it. But it takes time to see it, and you have to keep sticking with it. And I guess the last tip I would say for you if you're trying to change your brain, change your reality, is to change your location or change your the crowd of people you hang out with. That, you know, changing the people that I associated with and hung out with, that was probably the #1 thing that made the biggest difference in my life. And being open to what you encounter, even if it seems wrong to you at first. Because when you encounter things that make you uncomfortable, that's an opportunity to grow. When you come up against something that you feel uncomfortable with, hey, take a look at that. That's a gift. Look at that and think, okay, why did that make me uncomfortable? What's going on here? This is awesome. I'm on to something that can help me in my life. You know, don't obsess about other people. Look at what's going on for you and how it's creating stories in your mind or bringing back old feelings that you have. I feel like once you can address those things within yourself, you know, those little tiny things that are always knocking at the door, if you can open the door to those knockings in your life, you know, and invite them in for tea and start asking them questions, that's when you really can start to experience real change. And the amount of true transformation that you achieve in your life is directly proportionate to how much truth you can take without running away. So I encourage you to get uncomfortable in your thinking, with your emotions, in your environment, with the people you hang out with. Experiment with your body. You know, I like to do things like fasting. I have a video coming out about that. I like saying, okay, you know, I get a signal from my body that says I'm hungry. Do I have to eat immediately? No. Most people eat way too much in this day and age. You know, I look at things where, you know, I'm cold. I think, oh, do I immediately have to turn the heat up? It's like, well, it's just interesting to me to think about how comfortable we've become, and it can be very numbing. Put yourself out in nature. Let yourself be cold. Let yourself heat up. See what your body does. Trust yourself. Trust life. Keep watching my videos. Thanks so much for being here on this journey, and make sure to leave me a comment. Let me know what's going on, what's new in your lives, what's going on your side of the world, and I will see you again soon. Bye for now.